All right, welcome. Today we have Genny Guerrero. She's a candidate for LA City Council District 14. She grew up here in El Sereno. She went to Wilson High School. She's traveled many places throughout the United States and world, lived in many places because her husband's in the military. She's actively been doing nonprofit work. I know that she was involved in collecting donations for those that were in need, especially during the pandemic, the Independence Day parade and holiday event for many years, and the winter holiday event. She's been involved in the community police advisory board. So welcome, Genny. So we'll get right into it because of time, because the Zoom's not it's a short Zoom. So you grew up here in El Sereno, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You were
Born and raised.
Born and raised. Okay. And then and you went to elementary school through high school here.
Yeah, Sierra Park through El Sereno Junior High to Wilson High School, class of 2000.
Okay. And then how was it growing up here in those years? In those years, it's different than now.
It was home. It was home. It's definitely home. So there was a lot of good along with everything else that we experienced. As anyone who grew up here during that time, during the time of the 80s and the 90s, know that it was a very challenging, extremely challenging time, safety-wise in our community. But as a kid, you tend to not necessarily notice it as much. When you look at it in hindsight, you're like, oh my gosh, that was a thing. But you know, it formed me. It formed me, it raised me, it jaded me, it coddled me, everything.
Wow. Okay. So then you, real quick, you're also a wife and mother. How many kids do you have and how old?
Yes. So I have 5 kids.
Whoa.
And they range from ages 17 to 2.5, almost 3. He'll be 3 in March.
Wow, that's a big full-time job.
It is. It's great. It is. I have many full-time jobs. I wear many hats. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So then you have a number of kids. You've lived in many places in the world. So obviously you chose to live in El Sereno. Just out of curiosity, what was your second most favorite place to live, or where you liked the most? Besides
I loved living in Japan. That was a wonderful experience. It was beautiful. It taught me a whole lot. It gave me a lot of perspective on myself and on growth and on a complete difference. It showed me a lot of appreciation for people that leave their culture and leave their language and experience a whole new one, because I didn't understand the language. I didn't speak Japanese, so it was, and we lived out in the city. We didn't live on the base. So there was a whole slew of challenges. So it really made me appreciate the struggle that my parents went through when they came to the United States, and other people's struggles as well. And it's like, you know what? There's a place for grace in all of this. And it was thanks to people's grace that I survived living in Japan. And so I have to put that forward for other people.
Okay. And then you lived there with your husband. Did you have kids at that time? Or
no, we didn't have kids there. Yeah.
All right. And how long did you live there?
Roughly about 3 years.
3 years. Okay. And you appreciated the challenge, right, of being in a place that didn't have. But then what else specifically about Japan did you like? Would you say?
Oh, absolutely. I loved, well, they have earthquakes like we do, but they have typhoons. So that kind of prepared me for the Hurricane Hillary that was supposed to come by, in our neck of the woods over here.
Okay.
But the weather was beautiful. The cherry blossoms, picnicking under the cherry blossoms was amazing. I got to climb Mount Fuji. I've got to do a lot of wonderful things there, experiment their culture. Yeah, I really enjoyed living there.
Okay. And then you chose to move back to El Sereno.
Yes.
And what made you choose to move back here? And then how long have you been here?
Absolutely. So when we moved away, I was not even 21 years old. And then when we came back to the States, we first lived in San Diego. So we lived kind of all over San Diego County, from Chula Vista, East Lake, Escondido, kind of all over the place. I've lived in Moreno Valley. We visited and toured all kinds of places around the world. I've been to Dubai, to the UAE. I've been all over Mexico. I've been lots and lots of places. But they were never home. And for me, home is El Sereno. So when our kids started to get a little bit older and it was time for them to go to school, once they became like school age, I told my husband, you know what, we have to go home. We have to go home. And so we chose to bring our kids home here, because when you walk down the street, and this is what I would do on Huntington Drive. You know, you walk down the street, you go to the store, and you see people, and you say, you know, buenas tardes, you say good afternoon, and they respond back. It's magical. They respond back, buenas tardes, and good afternoon. It is amazing. It is an amazing feeling. And this doesn't happen everywhere. So I wanted my kids to experience that. There's so much good that I wanted them to experience from here that I wanted that to be part of their lives.
Okay, cool. And your kids go to the regular public schools that you went to, the same ones, or? Okay, all right, interesting. All right. And so then you graduated high school. I mean, did you what tell us about your career experiences?
Absolutely. Being a military wife has made things very challenging. My husband is still serving. He's still active duty military, Navy, go Navy. So he's been in 24 years now. So that led to all kinds of challenges. You know, once we left from here, I went living in Japan. I went to the Navy College Learning Center there, Central Texas College, came back, went to school in San Diego. You know, I've done several different colleges and stuff. And so it's been, it's a challenge for military spouses, military wives to have gainful employment when you have to pick up and move so many times over and over again. So we moved for the first half of my husband's career. For the first like 12 years, we were moving. We moved everywhere with him. And then once we started having kids, I told my husband, you know what, we need more stability for them. And I didn't want them moving around so much. So we stayed planted and we visited, but he was the one that was moving along. Yeah.
I see.
So
Okay, so then what I mean, before you did the nonprofit work or started that nonprofit a few years ago, what type of career experiences did you have?
Oh, absolutely. So I had your basic 9 to 5 jobs for a while. You know, I've worked all kinds of stuff. So I've worked valet parking. I've done all kinds of stuff. I worked for a bank. I worked for a bank for like 3 years. This was right before all the banks started collapsing around us and getting taken over by the feds. So I worked in banking. But then I got into being a notary. So then I started really looking into what I can do for our family. And so then I needed a career that I can take with me. So being a notary public, doing income taxes, that I can take anywhere with me because service members always need to have their income tax returns done. So that I pushed and I'm like, okay, so I did that. I'm an e-file provider with the IRS. I have my own home office. And then I got back into the nonprofit circle.
I see. Okay. And so then you've been involved in like a lot of things with the events and activities. I know you were involved with the other council office before this one. You worked for a short time. So this council office, I mean, you're running against somebody, right? So I guess my question, have you had any interactions with the current incumbent, or have you lobbied them for anything or asked them for something and you weren't happy with, or what's the real reason why you're running?
Oh, lots. Oh my gosh. So because I am on many nonprofit organizations, and when I say many nonprofit organizations, I've been on them for many years. It's not like I'm hopping and I'm just like exploring different ones. No, I've been on boards and I've stuck with them for many years. So I'm with it for the long haul. And so through that work, I have had to speak to our elected officials on all capacities. So I've worked with many of the elected officials that are actually running for this position. I've worked with them already before, as well as the community. So my asks have been very straightforward. My asks are always for the benefit of our community. And I've never compromised on what I asked. My ask is a direct ask. You know, if we need more public safety, if we need more funding for this, if we need more lighting, whatever it is that the ask is, it's genuine and it's forward, and there's no compromise in that ask.
Okay. So like maybe I should do a little more research, but what are the boards that you are a part of or have been a part of for a little while?
Sure. So it's about 20 or so. So the one that I currently act on, and again, these are boards that I am on, not that they're endorsing me, but that I am on, is like the El Sereno Bicentennial Committee, the Comité Navideño, the Community Police Advisory Board, the Police and Business Association for Hollenbeck, Casa de la Cultura Maya. I've been on the multimodal projects for Huntington, Valley, Eastern, and for the 710 project as well. I've been on I'm one of the Caltrans residents, so I'm on the No 710. That's been, for years we've been doing that one, the No 710. I'm a neighborhood watch captain. I'm my block captain. So I do those. I do a whole lot more organizations, but those are the main.
Okay, so through those organizations, you guys have communicated, or you've communicated with the current office holder, and
Yeah.
What has been, would you say, the result of those communications?
I see that there's a huge lacking in what can be done and what is being done. So that's part of my frustration. It's like, okay, because I've worked with so many council members throughout, because I've been going to meetings since I was 9 years old. My mother has been very involved in the community and always took me. So since I was 9 years old, I've been going to these community meetings. So I got to experience many of the council members. So you see how they change and what one person is able to do, but not the other person is able to do, yet using the same resources, same city funds, same abilities. There's no reason for them to short us on certain things. So I don't like that we don't have sufficient footbeat officers. I don't like that we don't have our basic needs are being met. But that's because we have people that are playing, they're playing political chairs. You know, one is just going after the other, after the other. This is a stepping stone. And I am very disrespected when I hear people say that our district is a stepping stone. We're not anyone to be stepped on. We're to be honored. We're to be respected. We are a fair council district within the city of Los Angeles. And that's what I intend to bring back to this office, is that respect for our community and for our community members.
Okay, okay. And then so you mentioned foot patrols, right? That's like an area of concern,
Yes.
is public safety. And so what are the main areas that you feel are the most pressing areas of this area? So public safety is one, obviously.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big proponent for public safety. It has to be for anyone to say that that's not one of our priorities. I don't know where they're living. You know, it's a priority. It's been a priority since we were kids, but it's a priority. What we need to do is to see there's a lot going on. We're undermanned as far as LAPD goes with Vice and with all of these different specialized units that can actually address some of the stuff that's going on. So we have a lot of gang violence. We have a lot of drug between the fentanyl and the crystal meth. The meth is rampant in our community. The fentanyl, of course, is a huge problem. But when you think of, for example, homeless encampments, the homeless encampments that we've been having here in El Sereno aren't just homeless encampments. It's an encampment where there are homeless people there, houseless people there, but there's also the gangs have infiltrated each of those places, and they're charging rents, and they're setting, you know, the other places on fire, and they're creating a much more hazardous situation than there is when it is just homeless people. So we need to really extract those two things, because now we see this as it goes hand in hand. Like we hear a homeless encampment and we think that it is tied to all of these other things, when it is just so many things working against each other at the same time. So yeah, we need to make sure that we have enough public safety. You know, we were leading in homicides in 2023 throughout the whole city of Los Angeles. And I called and I spoke with our council member and I requested that we needed more funding for patrol to come in, because we needed it. We were leading in homicides. We had, you know, that serial guy that went around and ended up stabbing our student from high school, from Wilson High School. That was so unfortunate. And there were calls that were being made that were requesting more surveillance around, and those were not being attended to. And then we had this situation happen. So it's unacceptable that we're not doing what we can do, and we're not providing it when it's there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Now, I don't know. So this is why I'm asking. When that stabbing happened, right in public daylight on video, and you know, in front of a lot of people, was there? Do you know of if was there actually more patrols provided after that? Do you know?
No, there wasn't.
Okay.
There wasn't, and we asked. I led a community meeting, and I asked for all kinds of community members. They came out. We had about 60 community members attend. We had this at Victory Outreach, and I had the council member there. We had an invitation for the captain, but our senior lead officers did attend instead of the captain. And we had those direct questions, and we had the direct ask, and we said, you know, we need more overtime money to be brought into, specifically into El Sereno. And we had that commitment, and he said that by June we would have that funding, and that never happened. And so we went and we fought in City Hall, and we requested it from the mayor's budget for it to be allocated. That wasn't allocated. There's money in discretionary funds that could have been allocated. Those did not get allocated. So no, it's extremely frustrating that we have our children literally dying on the streets, and we can't get the resources that we need. But yet there's a break-in in Eagle Rock, and they got footbeat officers. They got $100,000 for footbeat officers, but yet we had deaths in our community and did not get the same addressed to us.
And they're in the same council district, right?
Yes, they're in the same
Okay.
council.
Okay, interesting to you.
Those are disparities that I'm just so frustrated about that I'm fighting against.
Okay, so that was kind of like another question that I had is your with public safety, you want more funding for officers. If you were elected, what else would you propose for, improving public safety?
So to improve public safety, there needs to be an audit. There has to be checks and balances, right? So we need to have an audit to know how many officers are actually behind the desk and how many are actually running patrol. Because I'm very interested to know those numbers. I feel that we are top heavy on who is behind the desk and who's on patrol. I know this has to do with a few years of everything going on ever since we had the George Floyd terrible situation that happened. But ever since then, we had a lot of officers that left. We had a lot of officers that transferred into other departments, or they were already at the tail end and decided, I'm done. I'm going to do my medical things, and so they're clearing out all of their medical situations. And other people that they just left. So the department is down. It is down by a lot, and it's not just them. It's also our firefighters, and that's public safety as well. So we need to make sure that we have enough funding for our police officers and for all of our public safety to come together.
All right. So on the police advisory board, you come into contact with senior lead officers and other members of the department. And so in my interactions, I've interacted with the senior lead officers over the years a few times. And then I've also taken the time to talk to actual police officers that are not the senior lead. And then when you talk to the two different people, they say different things. I guess my question is, have you interacted with the non-leadership officers? Have you had interactions with them? And because they're the ones at the front lines of our public safety. Have you had any communications with them as far as what they see?
Yes.
Okay. And then what has that been? What have you?
Absolutely. So I think in Hollenbeck, what we notice in this area, that it's a little more pro-police than it is in other parts of the city. So when the regular officers from Hollenbeck that are assigned, there's more opportunity for community engagement and for community partnerships. When we have officers that come in to fill in, because we're low or whatever, that they're from the outside, from the rest of the city, and they come to patrol, I've noticed that we have issues. We have issues because they come already with, and this isn't to talk bad about them, but they'll come with the chip, or they'll come already irritated, and they'll come expecting the worst of our community. And so, yeah, I have called the attention to our captain and to other people when it's necessary. Absolutely. Because we deserve to be treated with respect at all levels and from every person that serves us. And that includes law enforcement as well.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you talked about law enforcement, public safety, you mentioned homelessness. So what would you say is the role of our city with respect to, affordability of housing and homelessness?
I think we have the ability to create more housing, for example, the tiny homes that are being built. There's RSO buildings, there's buildings that house so many homeless people. There are shelters. I don't think that CD14 has to take the brunt of the burden of sheltering everyone in the city and everyone in the state in our district. I think that needs to be a shared responsibility. We're not a dumping ground to the rest of the city for them to say, okay, well, all housing is going to be here. All housing, all of these resources are going to be here. Yes, we do have an issue in CD14 because we take up Skid Row. So that is a very real, it's a reality for us. And I have walked and I have been in Skid Row, which is something that the council members and other people haven't done. Is I'm actually there and I'm walking, I'm having the communications with people to understand better where we're failing. Unless we identify where we're failing, we're never going to fix this issue.
Okay.
So I think
No. So you're in favor of more, I guess you could say, a development or building to accommodate the people that need housing, and okay. Now I live literally on the border between Alhambra and El Sereno, so there's a big gap in what you see, and it's the same couple block radius. In El Sereno, you have a lot of homelessness. In Alhambra, you don't have that. And so what is your perception on why that is?
I think you're absolutely right. I also live on the border. I live 2 houses away from it being Alhambra, and we can see the disparities. It's huge. And when we were actually having one of the meetings for the 710 freeway, because the way they want to end the stump is, they want to bring it down from a freeway to a roadway. And, I was very concerned, and I told them, you know what, I'm not comfortable with what you guys are going to do, because I feel that that's going to build up all kinds of homeless encampments there along the freeway entrance. And they're like, and this is our conversation that we had with Alhambra, and Alhambra, the mayor said, like, no, but we don't have homeless in Alhambra. I know, because they kick them off into El Sereno.
Mm.
And everyone in that room was like, yeah. And Alhambra was kind of like, really? Like, yes, really. But that was evident to all of us. It's like, that needs to stop. That needs to stop. And we need to have good communication with our neighboring communities, which includes Alhambra, which includes the county, all of the areas that surround, especially El Sereno, but CD14. We need to have those good relations and communications with them to understand that we're not accepting that. And we're not accepting that kind of treatment, not only with the homeless situation, but also with our parks that they don't share and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, it's a real complicated issue. Like I granted that, and so it's a tough issue. I work with clients who have own property, who own units in LA, who buy property, sell property in LA. And so there's in LA is the rent stabilization ordinance. I know it's a complex issue. There's rent control. There's $23,000 tenant relocation, fees that people have to pay for. If someone wants to buy a couple unit property and live in one, or they have to pay the huge amount. So it becomes a problem for people who want to buy property as well as people who want to sell property. There's protected tenants, which is almost like permanent tenancy. And so it's a real complicated issue. So my question is, what are your thoughts on the ordinance itself and
Yeah. So what's CD14 is leading on eviction rates, but yet the crime stats were showing that there was no crime. So I'm extremely concerned as to what this means for CD14, because what it looks like to me and what it looks like to outside people, such as yourself, that are involved with this kind of thing, is that we're being poised for a huge either gentrification or a huge up leveling of our entire community. Because developers are happy to come in once the job is done. If you have all the eviction rates that are already been handled, already been pushed out, and they don't know the area, so they don't understand the crime that we have. But of course, there is no crime being shown on the crime stats. It's the perfect model for them to come into our communities. I'm much more leaning towards favoring our homeowners and our, if you have a home, if you have a property and you want to build and you want to expand your property, let's give you the abilities that the developers have been given. Because the developers right now are given, they're putting up 40, 50 unit complexes with 5 parking spaces, and then the community has to deal with the repercussions of that when we're already in a parking poor community. So no, let's give those eases over to the homeowner. Let's allow the homeowners let's cut some of this red tape. Let's allow them to expand, allow them to build. If you are able to build 2 more units on your property, why not build those 2 more units? Let's make that easier for our individual homeowners that want to develop. Absolutely.
Okay, good. Now another issue, for myself is traffic congestion. I live right where the 710 freeway ends. So it takes about a half an hour to travel about 3 or 4 blocks between 4:30 and 6:30. And it's not just a problem here in this specific area, but also throughout the city. Traffic has been like really, really, getting worse and worse as time goes on. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yes. So because I was on those different multimodal committees, including the one for the 710, they're trying to reduce some of that traffic coming off of the 710. So it should stop a little bit before. So it would get off onto the 10. They're trying to veer off some of that traffic from there, which should ease your little neck of the woods, right? A little bit. What the city is doing, what they're doing here specifically in El Sereno, is they're trying to slow down traffic. So if you'll notice with all of these improvement projects that they're showing, because of the money that wasn't used from the 710 project has to be reinvested into the community because it was earmarked for us. So we get to use it. We get to use it on 3 specific streets, on Valley, on Eastern, and on Huntington Drive. But what they're doing is reducing Eastern Avenue from 4 lanes, 2 each way, to 2 lanes, 1 each way, and the bus lanes. And that's very, very concerning to me. They're also adding a bus lane onto Valley. Valley only has 1 bus currently running on it. I don't understand why we need a bus lane unless Metro is planning something else. Because when you have bus lanes in certain areas, then that allows for large developments with no parking and things like that to come into play. So I'm very concerned as to what's happening. I wish that I was in the position already to have that privy information to know so that we can protect our communities better. Because I feel that we're really being sold out right under us.
Okay, well, thank you. So this district is like this neighborhood, this district, I think people like it because it's diverse. It's really, really diverse. There's a lot of different constituents here. So what's your strategy for ensuring that you reach or that all the diverse people here are heard and represented in their local government?
That is
Like you mentioned, Eagle Rock got the police patrol, even though there was a murder right here of a kid in broad daylight. So I mean, what's your
Yes. It's unfortunate that our elected officials are listening to only where the voters are. It's unfortunate. And, it brings me so much frustration. That's why I want to represent our areas, all of our areas, regardless of where the pockets of the voters are. It's more important that we as a community look towards each other and help each other. I'm not in favor of what's going on. And so that's why I want to come in and do something better. I would like to bring a platform, a technological platform that will allow for clear interaction between the constituents and the council member. So I would be able to see in real time, in real life, what the issues are. So if we have 50 individual people claiming, hey, there's a problem going on these streets, you have to pay attention to that. There will be no, I didn't know, there's none of that anymore. Like that, the council member will have to know what is happening. And I want that to be a completely uninterrupted and untainted way of receiving the information. Because many times what happens is when you have someone in an elected position, sometimes their staff members don't get the information to the elected person. And that does happen, And I saw it happen a lot to where, they want to either make it look like they're meeting a quota or protecting their jobs. And so they don't really bring out the issues that are happening within the community. I want to know what the issues are directly from our community. I also want this platform to serve to be able to be utilized by 13-year-olds and above, by residents of our districts with some form of verification of them being within our district, because I want to hear from our district. I don't want to hear from people outside telling us what we should do in our area. And I want an ability for our constituents to know what are the proposed developments that are coming in, what are the proposed laws, and what it means in a clear and effective language in all of the language that are spoken within our community. I would like for our local meetings to have translation services always readily available in the languages that are spoken within our communities. And I want to make sure that we have people in the council offices that understand these different languages and are able to communicate effectively with our constituents.
Okay, that's pretty thorough. And then, so in closing, what is one main message you'd like to convey to voters or constituents here in this area?
We have an opportunity to do better. We have an opportunity to work together to really get our community moving forward. This isn't going to be something that is needed, that we need outside entities telling us what it is that we need in our communities. This is me speaking on behalf of our communities. These are our neighbors. I live on Norwich. All of my neighbors know where we live. Everyone that's worked with me knows where I live. I have to face everyone because I go to church here. I shop here. I do everything that I do within this community, and I have to face everyone. I am accountable to my community. And so I want them to be reassured with that I'm not going anywhere. This is where I'm living. This is where I will continue to live.
Okay, great. And so how can people get involved in your campaign or stay informed about your platform things? I'll put your information in the link.
Thank you so very much.
One issue.
Yeah. So follow me on my social media handles, of course. Like I'm on Facebook a lot, Genny Guerrero. But my website, absolutely. So jump on the website. It is doing some maintenance right now, but it should be up and running by next week. Because we have all kinds of like interactive features that we're going to have in there as well. So we're very excited to launch that, relaunch that coming soon.
Okay, so this channel, this platform, this podcast that I'm trying to start, is to showcase, thank you for being here and for being, you know, the first candidate that I've interviewed. Not you weren't the first one that agreed to be interviewed, but the first one that I have, and I'll be putting this out soon. But so I wanted to ask you, so we're trying to, the goal of this is to showcase local individuals, great things happening, challenges, and real things that are happening here in this neighborhood. So if you could finish the sentence, more people, so that I could interview that person, more people need to know about blank in El Sereno. What would you say would be the thing or person that you could identify?
Oh my
So I
gosh.
can interview them. That's the point.
Okay, so you can interview them. I don't even say my mom's name, Violeta Arbino. More people need to know about the work that she's done in the so many years that she's lived here, the things, the resources that she's brought to our community. You know, being a Spanish-speaking person and still not having that be a hurdle, and you know, bringing in additional resources. You know, the post office that was brought in, and that was a true inspiring point for my leadership as well, because I got to see it firsthand that things can get done and they need to get done.
All right. All right. So make sure you let her know that too. All right. So we'll be in touch, Jenny. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for the opportunity.